Welcome everyone to this live stream. I have the feeling we have not been live. I have the feeling I talked with myself now for 10 minutes. That is slightly hilarious. Can someone in the audience let me know? Because, so thanks for the super chat already. I was confused. I thought we are live because it looked live. You're live now? Oh, that probably means you can't make this up. I was wondering, Linus Tech Tips was like complaining so much about this bloody live stream dashboard stuff, and was thinking it's relatively okay, except when we're not live. So unfortunately this makes the stream probably slightly less amazing, because it means I need to talk everything again, which is always slightly less amazing. So I wanted to give you, before people again say this is a rant, no, it's not a rant, it's just like, it's also in the meantime already the new normal. I took exceptionally Bluetooth stuff with me. Yes, Apple stuff, decade-old stuff. I'm refusing to buy new stuff. Also, it's compact, so whatever. But I also got here some wireless headsets. So apparently average, very even, stream healthy, stream. Slightly disappointing here. So yeah, got some new headsets, wireless stuff, because I thought I go the modern route here of headsets. Anyway, of course, we made a video earlier this year or last year already about aptX, because the Bluetooth SBC subband codec stuff doesn't sound the most amazing. And most modern headsets have aptX or AAC or other stuff. And we got this working already some time ago, but today I was already wondering why there were not so many chat comments. Probably the next time I know when I'm wondering, then something is wrong. So yeah, I wanted to give some summary. So it's not so much of a rant as of a state of Bluetooth on Linux, and unfortunately it's not amazing. So pairing this stuff did not work instantly, so I used the command line stuff, which, if you didn't know, just works here with Bluetooth D, and that you start from systemd or some old-fashioned init system, and Bluetooth control to scan on or power on, scan on, pair, and connect. And for human interface device stuff, this usually should work, except if it doesn't. So I had to pair this multiple times. It's not entirely, maybe not entirely Linux's fault. I have no idea what was with this old piece of stuff. I didn't use it in a year, but even that shouldn't be a problem, because when I already wanted to give up, but this is also the fun of Bluetooth. You try to pair, it doesn't freaking work, especially on Linux sometimes. I tried to pair it on macOS, and even on macOS it took like 7 attempts, so whatever was wrong with that. Then eventually it also worked in Linux. But that is not even the big story of this. The big story, what I wanted to talk about here, is more the state of Linux audio, which even the pulsesudio, probably a huge controversy already with many people already. Even in the Arch Linux forum you read, people like notes like, maybe I should actually fact check that, Arch Bluetooth something here of aptX. Not that people tell me first. Yeah, also bad sound, static noise. Yeah, thank you very much. Frustrating. Many users report frustration with getting A2 DP Bluetooth headsets to work. And yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Even myself, so 20 years Linux veteran, also finds it frustrating. Also, the issue is, of course, that the Linux stuff had to be reinvented so often. So even earlier, the Bluetooth integration was slightly different with Blues Audio, Blues Alza, and then the new way is with pulsesudio plugins, which is, to say more fragile, but I couldn't even get it to work. So I spent the better part of the afternoon messing around with this Bluetooth stuff, amazing experience. Or yeah, I had to package some stuff like here is a fork. Also upstream. So not only does it require plugins, but there is a fork of this Pulse Audio module. So even if it would work out of the box, which for me is a little bit trial and error, at least so there you see, you take this upstream vanilla stuff, and if you don't have the Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora or SUSE package, then apparently out of the box, maybe a little bit flanky. But even upstream, so even taking all of this away upstream in Pulse Audio, these modules are only SBC, the subband codec that sounds like a piece of garbage. And because for non-garbage sound, you need any of these modern audio codecs like aptX or AAC, MP3 maybe, or Sony's LDAC. These are higher fidelity, like because SBC, the subband codec, is older than MP3, it really sounds like garbage. Unless you run it on the very highest bitrate, and even then it's not as amazing as MP3, and even MP3 is good old vintage in the meantime. So yeah, this is a fork, so because it's not upstream, so not making this up. This is not my fault, not T2's fault. Upstream, no support for any of those modern codecs. Amazing out-of-the-box experience. So you can install this fork, which again, this didn't work for me. I compiled it from source. It looks like it could start to work, but then Pulse Audio daemon stops for whatever reason. Didn't figure it out yet. But this is just an update here of why probably the same with KDE and GNOME, all the bits and pieces sometimes not working amazingly together, and then people get frustrated, and probably that is the difference between Linux and macOS/Windows experience. What I got to work similar, I made a video already when I was surprised 12 months ago when amazing people have reverse engineered this aptX codec, which is a proprietary codec for non-sucking sound. And we got this to work with this ALSA Blue stuff, and I updated this in T2 now. Also, fun fact, YouViews and this YouTube channel already sponsored fixing here this aptX because there were some channel bits wrong back in the day. So a year ago, I could also not get this to work. I debugged this a whole afternoon, found some channel bits mixed and definitions wrong. This is upstream. This pull request was merged here. Amazing stuff. And yeah, so this, but there you see also, but this Pulse Audio people, not only is this modern stuff in there, the only thing that works for me is the out of tree third-party hobbyist blues ALSA stuff. That works for me. That makes it appear to all the ALSA applications like a sound card. That is working. If I use this Pulse Audio Bluetooth modules, then Pulse Audio daemon quits after connecting for whatever reasons. Yeah. Also, I wanted to point this out, that here's, by the way, a diagram. If this is how it looks a little bit hardware. Hardware Linux kernel, these are the regular drivers. I hope I have it somewhat on screen. And this is the user space, Pulse Audio engine layer, the daemon with applications connecting, and then also here the Bluetooth, yeah, different hardware things, and also Bluetooth. Bluetooth is not specifically mentioned here, but it's also there, just not working for me, and then the applications. Long story short, it is of course hilarious that the author of GSMP, the General Sound Manipulation Program, which a friend and I have done semi-professional CD recordings 20 years ago on Linux, can in one afternoon not configure this Bluetooth modules for Pulse Audio. Probably needs debugging another hour or two. And also, of course, it's a testament of ever-changing APIs. We had first OSS, Open Sound System, that was not amazing, not very feature-rich. Then ALSA, Advanced Linux Sound Architecture, for much more feature-rich, for multi-channel, for much more fine-grained mixer control and all the super complex stuff that ALSA implements. And then multiple sound servers. I have, in my opinion, by the way, the sound servers never were amazing. We had ESD, Enlightenment Sound, Daemon, Arts, KDE real-time sound server and other fun stuff. Now, of course, then we had Jack for professional multi-track recording. low latency routing, and nowadays we have pulse audio, and of course ever-changing stuff. Every year, every other year, desktop people like KDE Gnome and MPlayer, Xine, Firefox, they need to adopt something else. Of course, the latest and greatest nowadays is pulse audio. I heard the people are even not satisfied with that and implementing a pulse audio alternative already, because you can never have is it VBus audio? I don't know, audio bus. In the meantime, people already asking. I think some author of something, what even was it? I don't know what it was renamed in the meantime, doesn't even matter, but that is of course in my opinion the result of ever-changing APIs, and nothing is really stable, nothing is ever feature complete, and 14 standards that are not amazing, and then we have the 15s. Let's see what we have now in the comments after I repeated all the talk again. Some people watching, that is amazing. I also wanted to mention that, yeah, Jack, it's of course hilarious, right? Jack was done by multi-track experts, by Paul Davis or so, the author of Ardour, the digital audio workstation software. And I also wanted to point out that in our microkernel thinking, the problem is of course that this is totally fragmented. We have some sound hardware in the kernel and some sound hardware like Bluetooth in user space now. And of course there is quite some disparity of accessing this and implementing this and working with this. The result is also with this Bluetooth stuff, you don't have device nodes to control, and like ALSA mixer, which now the battery is failing after live streaming this twice. If we take this as a case study, even those experts here have done user space stuff. And if this user space stuff is more amazing for some reason, maybe we should do everything as user space components. Although in the point of pulse audio, not the most amazing, but in general, even for wireless, we have VW. Yeah, one battery switch later. I was so happy that the battery survived the 2 streams, and then the second stream I was only talking with myself. Can't never double check everything enough. So yeah, that was a camera battery also that is not focused now because reasons. So anyway, now I need to manual focus it because probably something like that. Anyway, I really wish or hope I have soon more time to implement this as a microkernel stuff, which by the way I should check if Pulse Audio D survived it, but apparently did. If we take a look, recurring shout out here, even latest Linux kernel, minor patch level, reverted serial drivers 8250, what was already in your IBM XT or clone, yeah, 8250 add support for NI serial something. Also 2019 people need to make proprietary serial adapter stuff apparently, and then they break stuff. IOMAP fix pipe page leak during splicing. Oh, this is revert, but anyway, not strictly revert. ARM64 Exynos revert, removed unneeded address space mapping for sock node. Can't make this up. Revert condition back to check. So time 0 to the upper 32-bit of kernel times back on 32-bit. ALSA HDA fix pending. Revert later do regression. And also bounce. So 2019, here Intel i810 prevent underflow in IOCTL used variable here comes from the user in the IOCTL can be negative, could result in an out of bounds write. Even TTY, the teletype or text terminal keyboard handling stuff, in reject invalid key codes, because do not try to handle key codes that are too big, otherwise we are risk out of bounds write in the keyboard handler. In the keyboard handler you can out of bounds write the Linux kernel. In 2019 you would think 10,000 eyes. But I'm not even, of course I also make bugs and mistakes, but this is why I'm saying we need this address space separated. How also, basically, why are we in this security apocalypse? Because we ignored all best practices. People in the 80s made research and came to the conclusion, address space separated microkernels. Have we done this? Well, we had QNX, we had HERT, we had Minix. Of course, Minix used in all the Intel management engines. QNX also quite successful, but in retrospect, I have to say, not only should I have written my own code, because packaging others, so like even spending the whole afternoon with Bluetooth, I spent my time and have achieved not much except updating some T2 packages here in our source distribution. But otherwise, this is why in the meantime, 20 years I've resisted of rewriting from scratch because there's so much open source code. But after 20 years, I have to say, the C code is not cutting it anymore. And then maybe we really need some alternative implementation that is not implementing everything in C with all this global out of bounds here in the keyboard and even KVM x86 out of bound for KVM get emulated CPU ID CVE 2019-19332. Can't make this up. Yeah, if we take this as a case study for even maybe you know or otherwise you learn something, that's probably why you are here for. Even the VPA supplicants, the wireless personal authentication stuff here for crypto stuff was forever in the user space, and I slightly wonder, everything is in the user space. This are these strange things of history that the Linux kernel developers put everything in the kernel except a few things. Like the kernel is so large, everything is in there. Why is this very small wireless WPA supplicant thing not in there? But also Bluetooth D, of course there is a user space daemon. It's a little bit funny, right? I mean, they had the right intention to move some complexity out of there, but then it's also not working quite right. The problem is probably that also each of those things, even, by the way, fun fact, even the wireless WPA supplicant Intel is rewriting this. There is a new one, some Intel whatever something, because beta or dbus or whatever, system deintegration and whatnot. But they had the right intention, but the problem is also in the Unix, Linux, BSD sphere, that it's such an exception that maybe the few daemons are just open coded and custom coded so that at the end they are not the most outstanding. Also, I had here previously code opened. So of course this is good old-fashioned C code right here in Bluetooth. Maybe this is also, yeah, security, maybe. And in a way, I was among those who probably was on a different track, because even GSMP, the general sound manipulation program, we have written in C++, although we have not continued maintaining this because other goals, but we have written GSMP in C++ and GTK-, back in the day. So it's not like we, friends and I and other people, didn't have other ideas. Also, yes, KDE in C++ instead of GNOME and so on. But maybe this would have been in general, maybe in general, the open source community, I have to say in retrospect after 20 years, this is too old of a coding style to write everything in C, and probably something I increasingly need to try to write example code for. The problem is, of course, I can't do it alone, and this is why I also turned to YouTube to make interesting videos showing all the in-depth stuff, and maybe next writing. I've already written, well, not only do I have written Sound Blaster low-level code in the 90s on DOS, but here previously on this channel, low-level 3D or video isolation code, maybe next example USB code, maybe Bluetooth code. I'm after this still not working, right? Decades later, Bluetooth on Linux still not out of the box, the most glitch-free. Somewhat tempted to write some example code there and see how that is going. So yeah, again, thanks for the super chat, by the way. I already thanked in the previous talking to myself, not live stream. So thanks for the super chat, highly appreciate it. Also, I learned from another channel that people who are members or subscribers, like of YouTube Plus or YouTube Red or whatever the name currently is, they have some free super chats apparently. Maybe you don't know this. Maybe you, if you are some YouTube Premium, whatever, maybe check. Maybe you can give some free super chats away that don't cost you extra, but just take away from YouTube's subscription part there or something. So best answer, give to yourself. Yeah, welcome everyone. So almost rect ZFS array, so the city delay was welcome. Okay, that is yeah, Christian did in the device instead of detaching it, had slight nightmare reverting that lol. Still amazes me, Bluetooth has been around for so many years, and even its main use, car kit, it bugs out of breaks so many times. Also, yeah, so stuff is also not amazing on macOS, right? Not really sure if I mentioned it. Probably I have it mentioned in the talking to myself. Not so. I figured with this, I have of course. This is now my second wireless Bluetooth stuff for testing, and I have this Sennheiser Momentum over-ear at home privately. So this is my work telephone conferencing stuff, and I forgot that, to my shock, the headset audio quality is not the most amazing. If you listen to stereo, A2DP or something, the stereo audio distribution profile, they sound of course good, if not amazing. However, if you switch this to headset, then the headset hands-free profile stuff, so different Bluetooth profiles here for a microphone, then it has only the most old-fashioned codecs that sound like a piece of garbage. So I can't even use it the most amazingly for conference calls, like video, GoToMeeting and whatnot, because the audio quality for the hands-free stuff is not even the most amazing. And on macOS, so why in general I'm not the greatest fan of this wireless stuff. The difference between wireless, which in general I'm not using it much, and I'm refusing to buy a phone without headphone jack, and I'm still having a backup old iPhone because I'm not buying a new one, because if you plug in a keyboard and mouse, it just works there, unless the cable is loose and doesn't have contact, cable is broken. Even on macOS, so I tried to pair those piece of old stuff here on Linux, didn't work, tried 15 times, didn't work. Then I switched to my Mac, and even on a Mac it didn't pair for 7 times, so I switched it off, pressing here the button, by the way, if you didn't know that, as usual, pressing the button here very long, switch it off on. So even on macOS, whatever was confused, so it was not even entirely Linux's and Bluetooth demons' fault. In general, Bluetooth is just there. Sometimes, maybe also the firmware, of course here is firmware inside, maybe the firmware also not the most amazing. And so yeah, also I found later that if, just a tip here, if this Bluetooth stuff, this Bluetooth control thing here, and power on here, power on, scan on, and so on, and pair something, and then connect something. If this doesn't work for some Bluetooth reason, then I could try 100 times, it never worked. What then worked apparently better was quitting this thing, so whatever bug is in there, not sure what state machine that changes, but quitting this and starting it again made it pairing work more often. So yeah, this is in general, beside sniffing, right? If you work in security with all the Bluetooth vulnerabilities, do you really want to type all your passwords over quite vulnerable Bluetooth over the air? Not really. Anyway, and also the second thing, so not only hands-free audio codec not amazing, on the second issue is on macOS. Even macOS does not always use the same audio codec. So sometimes I plugged it in, listened on macOS to some music, and I noticed, wait a second, this sounds like garbage. Sounds like SBC, the subband codec, this old old-fashioned 80s piece of stuff. And sure enough, if you use the option key, if you, probably many of you don't know if you are using macOS sometimes, pro tip, if you hold the option key and click on some stuff, like the Bluetooth icon in the menu bar, you get some additional information also for Wi-Fi and other stuff, some like Wi-Fi channels and so on, and access point and stuff. And macOS, since macOS the last 2 or 3 years, previously macOS only had support for SBC and recently AAC, and aptX support is only there since 2 years or so, I think, High Sierra or whatever that was. And sure enough, I have no idea why, but sometimes macOS did not use AAC or aptX. By the way, maybe I'm actually wondering, well, I think macOS has support for aptX. Anyway, so yeah, sometimes even macOS is not using the best audio codec for whatever random reason. So even there, you could actually think maybe they do this intentionally and only for their bloody own AirPods they have the best support, and for everything else they randomly break something. I don't know, but maybe, judging from all the peak bugs, maybe Apple is just incompetent and that's just peak bugs. Also hashtag peak bugs for all the peak bugs in macOS. So yeah, probably sometime soon I really need a fun fact. So also fun fact, I've finished for the FPGA stuff, for my video core, I finished the hardware cursor. If you're into this, if you want to know, maybe I make it, but it's not the most outstanding, right? It's just the Verilog code, like other Verilog code. But if you want to see more details, so hardware cursor working, I next need to integrate it with the RISC-V core. And then after so many years, this is also why then people call me an unsuccessful one-man distribution, which Rock Linux Naughty 2 was of course neither one-man nor unsuccessful, just a recurring insult of Debian fans. But welcome Glaucus. Another stream. No, this is a Bluetooth stream, but thank you for appreciating it. If you are, my wife is waiting to watch the movie, though I already let her waiting because I overdo my time here for not live streaming the second live stream. I'm after 20 years. This is of course a difference. This is why I'm increasingly after 20 years like I really need to write some clean code here for that. And the problem is, of course, why have I not done this for 20 years? First of all, I trusted on the 10,000 of experts in the Linux community to write amazing code, and after 20 years I'm getting a little disappointed. Also 20 years ago ALSA was working, 2019 pulsesudio, yeah. And the problem is, of course, I'm risking here a little bit. There are 14 standards like Linux, FreeBSD, NetBSD, OpenBSD, DragonflyBSD, Haiku, Aros, TempleOS, and Open Darwin and Pure Darwin, and all the other fun operating systems I've forgotten in the meantime. But I'm of course risking a little bit. There are 14 standards and I'm doing my 1010 Linux distributions, and I do a microkernel, like, or yet another. This is why I don't want to do another Linux distribution, and I'm very much aware of there is so much code with issues, and I do more code, and then there will be even more code with issues. The only defense I have to this is most of the open source systems are monolithic kernels, and this is why I so see the research in the 80s indicated we need huge systems are getting increasingly unmaintainable. And we need address space separation, we need modules, we need object orientation. And what have we done? I have the feeling the problem in the open source community, I have to say after 20 years, is that most of this stuff is too old-fashioned code. Like C is basically a fancy assembler front end. So basically we write too much open source code, in my opinion, in this glorified assembler front end that is called the C language. And yeah, let's see, this is why with all the security, so independently of Bluetooth, but this is of course everything you touch too much breaks, be it Bluetooth or the TTY layer with just minor Linux kernel fixed out of bounds right in key code, scan code there. Yeah, this is why this is totally amazing to see this channel grow. I only hope with this kind of, yeah, this is not the most amazing and we really need to do it better. I don't lose subscribers. That is always a risk here of this random streams in the evening. I hope it is positively summarized well enough that it is some value, or at least some tip or some hint to think of the state of kernel development. And I just received under the other video a very lengthy comment of someone agreeing that he's using Linux on servers and desktop. It's not amazing. He would prefer a microkernel, and he's even considering going back to macOS because on Linux it's just not as amazing. And this is, of course, it's just not as amazing, unfortunately. Let's see what comments we have. Leave me in the comments below as usual. What do you think about Bluetooth, writing everything in C and monolithic kernels? Thank you already for sharing, like, and subscribing. And I'm sure use this in the future to spend all the time not only on FPGA stuff, so this will come soon again, but also writing more modern code. So let's see what else here still amazes me. Bluetooth, car kits, yeah. Want to replace a drive, what? Wonder if Pipewire will... Ah yeah, right, thank you for that. Pipewire was exactly what I was looking for earlier. That is the new alternative because you can never have enough audio demons. Yeah. By the way, I think I'm not using the webcam because the webcam is complete garbage picture, unfortunately, but whatever. Yeah, that is why streaming from a digital, although I think right now it's not entirely focused, I guess, or it's not too bad, so, but whatever. This is a rent scene. Anyway, looking for your comments. Hope you stay around and subscribe and share and stuff. And thanks again for the super chat donation. Also, your shares and subscribes already supported here. I submitted a fix for aptX here, so not only OBS and all the other Yosys and PicoRisk 5 maybe, or others, increasingly contributing upstream again, and even in this Bluetooth ALSA stuff here, some aptX channel assignment defines were fixed here. Already quite some year ago. And let's see, Eric brought an MX Master 3 mouse a few weeks ago, works out of the box on Linux macOS, but sometimes maybe once a week it needs to restart the MacBook even for Bluetooth or something. No, the whole chat jumped. To even use Bluetooth, there's a reason to keep 2.4 gigahertz around for Wi-Fi, but yeah, band steering and good roaming algorithms in the client driver must be to roam 5 gigahertz whenever possible. Main reason to use 2.4 is signal strength, since better penetration than 5 gigahertz. Bluetooth and TempleOS, yeah, that was just a joke, certainly not contributing to TempleOS, but whatever. Better router, something meshing can be done, something don't think that's true even with same power dB. One device can make more signals than others. Guys going to sleep, have to fix some friend's computer tomorrow. Yeah, good night, have fun, signal strength, something not that simple, there's more AP alone, while radio might have better dynamic range, something. Yeah, so that's it for this live stream. You see, we are not getting away. Each time we have something non-working, we come to the same conclusion. Microkernel for the verse, also writing stuff in more modern languages than C. That's it for today. I hope you learned something. If only for the option, click on macOS. And yeah, hope to see you soon. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you soon for the next, especially fans already FPGA. Really interesting to see that, but can't live streaming it now. Need to have some real life, so see you then after that for some video.